What's up guys, Thiago here, and today I'm going to show you how to get started with Vue.js. So there are plenty of JavaScript frameworks out there, and I've been using Angular for the last 5 years, and I'm very comfortable with Angular. But I gotta say that Vue.js is by far the easiest one to get started. So let's have a look. Alright, so I've got a Vue.js getting started folder here, open in VS Code, and I'm going to create a index.html file. Inside this file, I'm going to start with the HTML5 template. I'm going to give it a title. So now I'm going to go to the Vue.js.org page in the Getting Started section and copy the CDN for the Vue.js framework and paste here in the HTML. And I'm going to create a div with the ID app. And to start with the application, I'm going to create a new script tag here and start the application by initiating the Vue object. And inside there, I need to set which element that's going to be bound to. And that's all you need to start your Vue.js application. But let's start playing with the application and see how we can bind some properties from the Vue component to the template. Right, so we're going to use the data object inside the component. And inside this object, I'm going to create a property called message. Okay, so in the template now, all I need to do is interpolate or the double curly braces to bind that property to the template. So I'm going to copy the path now and open that in the browser. And there you go. Now you have a Hello World application with Vue.js. Alright, so just so we can have a look at the reactivity of Vue.js, I'm going to open the Dev toolbar here, pressing F12. And I'm going to go to the app, the Vue.js app that we created, just by typing app. So we can get the Vue instance in the console. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the message and see how it works. Now we can get the hello world, and we can also set the message. And as soon as we set the message, the template is going to change automatically. There you go. All right, but let's create now something more meaningful and a real hello world application, which is a to-do application. Right, but for that, I'm gonna go to get Bootstrap, which is a UI framework, and I'm gonna paste that style sheet here so it looks a bit nicer. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm going to create a to-dos array here in the data object, and I'm gonna create some items. So the first one will have a text. And I'm going to set to wash the dishes. And this item is not done yet, right? So is done equals false. And now I'm going to create another one. Have breakfast. So this one is done. So let's bind that array to the template now. So I'm going to create an unordered list and set the list group, which comes from Bootstrap. And I'm going to create a list item using the list group item class. Okay, so I'm just going to set a text here just so we can have a look and see how it shows in the UI. So you can see in the browser now I have this list group. Alright, so back in the code, I'm going to use the v4 attribute, which is going to loop through an array. of objects. In this case, the to-dos. Okay, so I'm gonna set a local variable called to-do in to-dos. And now what I can do is I can replace that text by the text coming from the to-do. All right, so to-do.text using the interpolation. And if I save that, go back to the browser and update, I'll have washed the dishes and have breakfast. So let's see how we can create a new to-do item in that list. Okay, so I'm going to create another section here, another column in my template using the div call6, which comes from Bootstrap. And I'm going to create an input field here, and I'm going to bind using the V model, which is a two-way binding, to a property in my data object, in my state. So I'm going to create a new one called new to do. And I'm going to create this new to do with a null value. So now I'm going to bind an event to that input field. So I'm going to use the v-on key up, and I'm going to set a modifier for that event to use the enter, which is the enter key. And now I'm going to bind that event to a method in my Vue instance. So in this case, I'm going to call create to do. And in my Vue instance, I'm going to create another object called methods, and I'm going to create that method called create to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the to-dos array and push a new value, a new object to that array. So I'm going to set text to the new to-do, and then I'm going to clear that new to-do. So let's see how that looks in the browser. So I'm going to create a new item here called have a beer, and I'm going to hit enter. So you can see that as soon as I hit enter, a new item is created in the list, and the list is updated. And also the new to-do is cleared, so the input field is now empty. So now let's make use of this isDone property in the to-do item. Okay, so I'm going to create a style section here, and I'm going to create a new CSS class called done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike through the text of the item that's done. So back in the template, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the vbind, which is binding a property from the Vue instance to the DOM element. So I'm going to use vbind colon class, which is going to use the CSS class. And what I'm going to do there is if the to-do.isDone is true, I'm going to set the done class. By the way, I can use a shorthand for vbind, which is using just the colon. And for the v-on, I can just replace by at, which is the event binding. Back to the browser, I'm going to refresh. And now you can see the have breakfast is completed. So it has a strike through. All right, so that's cool. But now let's make some change to the template so the user can update the isDone property. Okay, so I'm going to create a label inside of the list item. And I'm going to create an input of type checkbox. And I'm going to bind that using the V model to the to-do isDone. All right, so I'm going to move the text now to the label. And also I'm going to move that colon class to the label as well. So it makes this change to the label. All right, so let's save that back to the browser. And now we can see the checkbox in there. And if we click on the checkbox, we update these done property. And you can see they strike through. All right, but what if I want to just hide all the done items? So I'm going to introduce a new concept called computed properties, which they look essentially like methods, but the key difference is the result of the computed properties, they are cached, and they only are recalculated when the dependencies of that computed property change. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new computed property here called filtered to-dos, and I'm going to return the to-do items that are not done yet. Okay, so now all I need to do is I need to replace in the template where I can see the to-dos by these filtered to-dos. So in the V4, I'm going to replace the to-dos by the filtered to-dos. So if I go back to the browser now, I'm going to see only one item because there is only one item that's not done yet. And that's it. So if I click on wash the dishes, it disappears from the list. So let's now create a new item. So the new item is shown there. And if I create another one, it gets shown, and so on. So I can now complete them. All right, just to show you that the items are still there, I'm going to open the dev toolbar and show in the app instance that we still have a few to-dos there, and all of them are completed. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers.